Oysters. You may think of them as a delicious delicacy, or as our stage manager points out, as an aphrodisiac. But what many may not know is just how important they are to our oceans and our environment. During the pandemic, millions of oysters went unsold when restaurants closed. But as our Ginger Zee reports in this week's It's Not Too Late, some oyster farmers have turned the problem into a pearl of an environmental solution.
Hi, I'm Ginger Zee, and it's not too late. Hey, welcome to the Bay, and I gotta tell you something, oysters are unbelievable. Not just because that was so fresh and came straight out of the ocean right now, but because they are the engineers of the sea.
If you step on a bag, it's no big deal.
It's not gonna wreck everything?
No, it's not gonna.
It's not gonna ruin another bag. I don't think people could understand that a majority of the oysters that they're eating on their plate at a restaurant are from a farm. They're not just out and about.
No, I'll say it straight out. If you're eating a wild oyster, you're not eating a wild oyster. There is no real wild oysters left in the world. I mean, there's a little pocket here, a little pocket there.
And last year, when the pandemic shut down restaurants, it eliminated the oyster farmers' business.
We were having the best year of our lives right up to the January was the best January in terms of sales and in growth. January, February, and then, just stopped.
I mean
zero.
Zero.
Not only did their business go to zero, but their oysters got too big to eat.
So what we do is we sort them out and get the smaller oyster and put them in their own bag and a larger one.
So the process now is to take them off the boat over here.
Yep.
And so show me this is a bag I'm gonna grab.
Yeah, this is
and
a
I don't know
bag.
if you know this, these are my oyster shucking shorts.
Oh,
They're made
perfect.
for this. Yes. With millions of uneaten oysters, some of them just grew too large to go to market, emerged a giant problem.
The problem is that the farm is a big process. You're constantly moving oysters through the system, and if you can't sell the full-grown ones, the ones that they don't stop growing because it's a pandemic. They just keep growing, and so you can't move them through the system too. Then you're out of space, and things become a problem. If you don't keep moving them, they overgrow.
But out of that double crisis, an environmental pearl of a solution.
The Nature Conservancy came in and somehow decided to pay us for a bunch of, because as our oysters get too large, they're not marketable. So they call them our big and uglies. I wasn't happy about that name. But anyway, that's what they call them.
But they bought your big and uglies.
They bought our big and uglies, and that was just manna from heaven. It was quite nice and quite lovely, and so that was a good thing.
Good for the farmers, but also the environment.
Oysters are probably one of the most sustainable foods we have. They require no feed, no fresh water, no land to produce, and they're doing something good for the environment when they're filtering the water and providing habitat for surrounding fish and invertebrates.
And from Long Island to here on Governor's Island, the millions of uneaten oysters that would have just gone to waste are actually bought from the oyster farmer and brought into the harbor to recreate what's natural.
New York Harbor used to be one of the great ecological treasures of the world, and we destroyed that by harvesting all the oyster reefs. So the harbor is essentially a 200,000 acre forest that's been clear-cut, has no more trees. And we think that by restoring oyster reefs to the harbor, we can restore that lost habitat and also use it as a way to connect New Yorkers back to the harbor and sort of reimagine New York Harbor as New York's biggest and best looking open space that we should all be using and taking advantage of.
It was a real team effort. The Nature Conservancy, Pew Charitable Trust, Billion Oyster Project all partnered with the Harbor School in New York. They bought millions of unsold oysters to support the farmer and then put those oysters back in the harbor as living oyster reefs.
The students are right there on the boat with the oysters, and now they're making it back into the ocean, and they're gonna help twofold.
Each one of those bags has about 50 oysters, and in total over the last 2 days, 5,000 oysters are going to go down on the reef. So these are Billion Oyster Project staff members dropping the oysters on the reef, and then the Harbor School students and alums are going to dive down, scuba dive down and distribute them into these steel containers on the bottom.
Oysters, when they're in their natural habitat, really create this incredible barrier for storm surges. So it protects us. So these are these incredible ecosystems that are on the shoreline, natural infrastructure that's protecting us, and they're amazing to eat as well.
Oyster reefs were nature's natural protection from storms. They act like a barrier, absorbing wave energy before it gets to the coast. But we overharvested them and left ourselves vulnerable.
When the Nature Conservancy came in with the SOAR program and really rescued a lot of us out here, because we were just sitting on top of these huge oyster sites, just kept getting bigger and bigger by the day, and we couldn't sell them, so they came in with a program, the SOAR program, and bought a lot of oysters from guys, and it was a real, it was a real lifesaver when we needed it.
Whoa, look at that. That is salty goodness. Finding solutions in what can sometimes feel a lot like the ocean, vast and endless series of environmental crises, it's what gives me hope, and it's what tells me it really isn't too late.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.